The point is net zero was a target that Theresa May adopted, driven by the science. So what are they? They are anti-science, they are anti-jobs, they are anti-energy security, and they are anti-future generations. I can't put it better than Theresa May, and this is what she said. Theresa May, she was a former Conservative Prime Minister just 5 years ago. Those of us who advocate accelerating our progress towards net zero emissions are labelled fanatics and zealots. Ironically, the name-calling often emanates from ideologues at the political extremes or from populists who offer only easy answers to complex questions.
Can I tell you, this policy is a fantasy, and that's why the rest of the world is not following you as you push your country, our country, into... If it mattered, you wouldn't be destroying farmers with your family farm tax.
We're not.
Absolutely don't go
land
there,
and 9 million homes at risk of flooding. This government is absolutely taking
fantasy politics.
I'm Mike Sevier of Vox Political. Buy me a coffee and bear with me on this. You'll understand what I'm getting at very soon. In Greek mythology, Cassandra was cursed. Gifted with the power to see the future, she could predict the destruction of Troy with perfect clarity, but no one believed her. Her warnings were dismissed, mocked, or ignored, even as the wooden horse rolled through the gates. Are you with me so far? Now think about this. In 2025, Ed Miliband finds himself in a strikingly similar position. The Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero has announced a bold, unprecedented plan to launch a State of the Climate address to Parliament to be delivered annually. He calls it an exercise in radical truth-telling, an effort to speak plainly and urgently about the climate crisis already gripping the UK. His aim is clear: to force political leaders to stop ducking the truth and start taking responsibility. But as with Cassandra, Miliband's message risks being shouted down, twisted by ideological opponents, or drowned out entirely in the fog of manufactured doubt. Those who respond by saying, "There's nothing to worry about, we don't need to do anything," frankly, it is the worst sort of betrayal of today's and future generations, Miliband said. They need to be called out, and we are going to call them out. The climate crisis is already here and worsening. The trigger for Miliband's intervention is the Met Office-led State of the UK Climate Report, released ahead of his speech. The findings are stark. Extreme weather is no longer a future threat, it is the new normal. The UK is already experiencing more frequent, intense heat waves, including record-breaking summers like 2022, 2023 and probably this year. Increased heavy rainfall, triggering repeated damaging floods across the country. Rising sea levels, threatening coastal communities and ecosystems. Long-term ecological degradation, with nature in retreat and biodiversity under sustained pressure. The scientific consensus is overwhelming. Global temperatures are rising due to human-caused emissions. The UK, despite its temperate reputation, is far from immune. In fact, the country is warming faster than the global average, with cascading effects on agriculture, infrastructure, health, and livelihoods. In the face of this evidence, one might expect politicians to act fast to contain, if not reverse, the damage. No such luck. In fact, political resistance is growing to the evidence of climate change. Reform UK has pledged to scrap all net zero policies, withdraw subsidies from renewable energy and invest in fossil fuels, casting climate action as an elite obsession disconnected from working class concerns. The Conservative Party, under new leadership, has walked back its commitment to net zero by 2050, a goal it once enshrined in law. Kemi Badenoch, now Tory leader, has called the target catastrophic for the economy and impossible to achieve. These aren't just rhetorical flourishes, they represent a fundamental shift in the Overton window of British climate politics. What was once broad consensus is now under siege from populist scepticism and short-term economic anxiety. And I quote again, "The extremists, the ideologues, are those who would deny the problem or deny the need to act," Miliband said. He went on, "History will judge those people very, very harshly." And here lies the heart of the Cassandra Complex. Miliband speaks not just with conviction, but with the full weight of climate science behind him. Yet he is consistently portrayed, especially by hostile media outlets, as an out-of-touch climate crusader, blind to economic realities and the political mood. The public, caught in the middle, are left to choose, believe the seer or the cynics. The story of Cassandra resonates because it is timeless and timely. According to the myth, Cassandra was cursed by Apollo. She would always tell the truth, but no one would believe her. Despite seeing clearly what was coming, the Trojan horse, the sack of the city, the slaughter of her people, she was silenced by disbelief and ridicule. And so Troy fell. Today, climate scientists, campaigners, and a shrinking number of politicians like Miliband face a similar fate. They warn of irreversible tipping points, unmanageable disasters, and a shrinking window to act, only to be labelled alarmists, enemies of growth, or eco-fanatics. Like Cassandra, their tragedy lies not in being wrong, but in being ignored. But there is still time to avoid the fall of our civilization. That's what Miliband is banking on. Can we break the cycle of denial? Miliband's plan to make the climate address an annual institution is a shrewd attempt to pierce the fog of obfuscation and force political accountability. It echoes the Chancellor's budget statement, but instead of financial projections, it will lay bare the environmental realities Britain faces and the cost of doing nothing. The move also draws inspiration from climate truth-telling initiatives in countries like Sweden and New Zealand, where regular government reporting has increased public engagement and trust in green policies. By putting climate facts on the record in Parliament with scientific backing, Miliband is trying to anchor the debate in reality and force opposition parties to either engage with the data or be seen denying it. But it's a high-stakes gamble. With Labour already scaling back its original £28 billion green investment plan, and Miliband recently forced to drop a zonal pricing plan for electricity, critics will question whether the rhetoric matches the resolve. Still, in political terms, this may be Miliband's most consequential contribution. A framework for embedding climate action in British democratic life, not as a passing priority, but as a permanent moral and policy imperative. Despite his warnings, Miliband insists the speech will not be all doom and gloom. He wants to highlight reasons for hope: growing international consensus on net zero, falling costs of renewables, new jobs in clean industries, and the UK's potential to lead the world in green innovation. But he is also clear-eyed about the danger of complacency, especially from those who claim adaptation alone, higher flood defences, air conditioning, agricultural shifts, will suffice. I quote again, "That's a complete betrayal," he said. Then you are essentially running up the down escalator. The problem will get worse and worse. We will keep trying to adapt. It will keep costing us more, and we won't be able to keep up. There is still time to listen. The myth of Cassandra is not just a cautionary tale. It is a test. What do we do when the warnings are clear, but inconvenient? When the truth is spoken, but uncomfortable? When the stakes are known, but the sacrifices are hard? Ed Miliband is not perfect, but he is on the science right. The question is not whether he sees the danger, but whether anyone is finally ready to listen. If not, well, we know how this story ends. I've been Mike Sivier, and it's time to buy me that coffee now. Donate more than £20 and I'll give you a free copy of my reissued first book, Strong Words in Hard Times. Subscribe to the video mailing list, like and comment on this video clip, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do all that, you'll be helping keep the channel alive, and then you'll be able to see me in the next one.